Okay, so this is my full review of the all-new Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Plus. This is everything you need to know before considering buying this tablet. Let's go ahead and jump in. All right, now, first things first, the design. If you are at all familiar with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus, or if you've been following the channel for a while, then you know that very few things have changed with the hardware, well, at least on the outside, when compared to the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus, meaning it's pushing the same dimensions as the predecessor. In fact, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus book cover keyboard, along with the many other Tab S7 Plus accessories, would fit this tablet the same. As you can see, it's still boasting that same large 12.4 inches panel. It feels dense, it is portable, it looks and feels very premium with that same brushed finish on the back here, which, by the way, for some reason is just a fingerprint magnet. So just be careful with that. What we have here is a unibody build, but this time around it's an armor aluminum body, simply meaning in layman terms that it's going to be a little bit more resistant to scratches and other harsh conditions that you put your tablet in. Now, we are going to find the same usual suspects, right? So the volume rocker, the power button, and by the way, the power button here is simply a power button, unlike it is the case with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 or the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7, as a matter of fact, where the power button is actually a combo of a power button and a fingerprint sensor. So you have the fingerprint sensor embedded in the power button for those tablets. Here, it's just a power button, but you do have an optical fingerprint sensor under the screen here, which works pretty well, but still, I personally, of course this is personal preference, always like to have an actual physical fingerprint sensor because they're more secure and they are faster. But don't get me wrong, it's still fast enough for you to unlock the tablet and jump in and get started with your work. The micro SD card slot is still there to expand that storage. We also still have multiple mics around the device here, a USB Type-C for data transfer, charging, and also for pushing out video signal. And finally, one of my favorite features on here, which is the quad speaker setup tuned by AKG here, and these are fantastic speakers. They are loud with very clean sound quality, and that's pretty much it for the physical features on the tablet. Now, there are some subtle changes or subtle upgrades worth noting here, but they're very subtle, definitely worth noting. And I want to start up with the buttons, right? So the buttons are flatter here and they are slightly wider than before than what you found on the Galaxy Tab S7 Plus. There's also a subtle yet noticeable difference in the physical appearance of the main camera located on the back of the tablet here, and that's simply because it's been upgraded to a different lens. Now let's go ahead and cover specs and performance, and we are going to start inside out. And by the way, if this is your first time visiting, welcome to the channel. Of course, I'm certainly hoping that you are enjoying the content so far, which, if you are, please make sure to like, subscribe to the channel, of course. I truly appreciate that. All right, so let's go ahead and get back to this here. The Tab S8 Plus is loaded with a new Qualcomm chip. It is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, and that is also coupled with 8 gigs of RAM along with 128 gigs of expandable internal storage, and that expansion actually can go up to 1 terabyte using, of course, a micro SD card that you would have to purchase separately. And of course, right out of the box, it does come loaded with Android 12, and then you have One UI 4.1 sitting on top of that. Now, based off of just the few specs that I just went over, you can imagine that this is, of course, a true pro tablet, and I could just let you imagine what the performance is like on here. Now, I did put it through different levels of testing, right? So your day-to-day users, the moderate productivity level test type of thing, and of course it just blew past those two types of testings, right? And I also went through the high level of productivity testing, so I'm happy to report that the results did not disappoint. Opening multiple windows and working on like multiple things at the same time, no issues whatsoever. So running multiple things in the background, still no crashes, no slowdown, very smooth handling of pretty much everything I threw at it. In fact, I actually did some video editing using Power Director, which is what I use while waiting for LumaFusion to hate Android. But anyway, video editing was pretty clean, very smooth performance. Rendering was relatively fast. I actually compared that to my Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus, and it definitely processed the videos, 4K videos faster, right? And that speaks volumes in terms of just the GPU performance. I also tested heavy games like PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty, Asphalt 9, and other heavy games, and I still have zero complaints. Now let's go ahead and jump onto the display specs here. And one of the things that Samsung is really known for, one of the most iconic things that Samsung is known for, is just their ability to make top level displays. And what we have here is no different, right? It is the very well-known Super AMOLED display, also found on the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra. And as I mentioned earlier, on here you are looking at a 12.4 inches display, so that is a fairly large display, at least for most average people. And what we have here in terms of resolution is 1752 by 2800, putting you at about 266 ppi, which truly pops to the eye. When you have a movie running on here, you can just see how image quality is so beautiful. And those familiar with OLED displays, I'm pretty sure know what I'm talking about here. Very, very high level of contrast with those very inky blacks. The tablet itself does support HDR10+ with a high refresh rate at 120 Hz. So doing literally anything here will offer you a super smooth user experience. Now, one thing I want to note here is that the brightness is said to be right about 500 nits. Now, don't quote me on that, right? So if you do the research, you see that, there are various different results out there, right? But the general consensus is that it could be slightly below 500, which, by the way, is absolutely normal because, of course, the display is OLED. Again, I cannot emphasize it enough. Entertainment consumption here is just top level, right, on an OLED display. You just have to experience it. Now, the next specs that I want to go ahead and cover here is the Samsung S Pen. And to those of you new to Samsung Pro Tablet, this is a Samsung S Pen, right? So this is the stylus that does come with the tablet. So it does come included in the box. And it has actually remained the same, at least physically, when compared to the one from last year. But at the same time, it is actually one of the things to have seen some of the biggest upgrades on the inside. This pen is now pushing a whopping 2.8 milliseconds when it comes down to latency. That is unbelievable, right? It is immediately noticeable as soon as you start writing that. Well, to someone like myself, for someone like myself who's been using the Galaxy Tab S7 and the Tab S7 Plus, I can tell the difference in terms of lag, right? It's almost non-existent with the new one here. Now, beyond the physical appearance here, when comparing to the Galaxy Tab S7 Plus S Pen, the one thing that I need to note is that 2.8 milliseconds latency will apply, when you have both a combo of the Galaxy Tab S8 Plus, or the S Pen here, with the technology inside the Galaxy Tab S8 Plus, meaning you won't be able to achieve that 2.8 milliseconds if you take just the Tab S8 S Pen and use that on the Galaxy Tab S7. That won't work. I believe someone asked that. So it applies only when you put the two together. Again, with such a short and close to a 0-second lag, it truly pushes the experience a few notches further, right? It improves the user experience so much, whether you are just taking notes or, drawing or whatever the case may be. It just feels awesome. Now, in terms of accessibility, as I mentioned earlier, you do have the latest One UI 4.1, the latest as of the shooting of this video, right? So the latest One UI 4.1 sitting on top of Android. It is extremely fluid, very smooth. Of course, top that, couple that with the specs of the tablet itself. Really nice user experience. Everything kind of flows in a very seamless way. You can be super productive with it, and you can definitely take that a notch further with the use of the amazing Samsung DeX. That's just, awesome stuff, because it offers an unbelievable ability to perform, real multitasking on this device. Now, let's quickly go over camera here, which, by the way, can shoot up to 4K videos, both the front and the back. So both that main and front-facing camera on this device have been upgraded. What you have on the back here is now a 13 megapixel wide lens and a 6 megapixel ultra wide lens. And what this means, of course, is that it does take pretty nice pictures, pretty nice videos for a tablet. So nothing to the level of a flagship phone today, but in terms of just a tablet's camera, it is very impressive. The front-facing camera is now a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens that will offer you the auto framing option, where the camera automatically adjusts to keep the subjects within the frame. And in addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, you do have multiple mics around the tablet, so when you are in video call or whatever the case may be, video is already very good, and of course the mics really help pick up great sound, making for a better video call experience. Now, the last point that I do want to highlight here, of course, is going to be battery. It's the same size battery as what you had on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus, 10,090 milliamp. So what it means in layman terms is simply it's a fairly large battery and it should last you for the entire day. Right now, it's gonna be depending on your type of usage. I always say this, right? Subjective to your type of usage, but it is bound to see through the end of the day. It is also fast charge capable at up to 45 watt, which is one thing that I would advise for you to pick up. I mean, it does come with a fast charger, but if you have a way to buy a 45 watt charger, you should be able to get this thing charged up and ready to go again in no time. But that's just my take. The one last thing that I would love to highlight here is something new, right? Samsung recently announced that starting with this generation of tablets, you will be getting, or you, the consumer, will be seeing 4 major updates, right? So what that means is simply that you'll be seeing up to 4 years of support. You see how people always say, oh, Apple does 5 years. All right, so it looks like with Samsung, you now see 4 years of major updates, and that would be up to 5 years of security updates. That is crucial for a lot of people. I know not for everyone, but I know a lot of people who, when buying a tablet, want to first make sure that it's going to be supported for a long time. These may be people, maybe, hang on to their tablets a little longer than I do. For example, I'm always buying the newest one, so that doesn't necessarily apply to me, but I do like that, people who are looking for that option now have that available to them. But anyway, so this was my comprehensive take on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Plus. I will of course be making additional videos on this particular tablet, and of course those will be focused on different aspects of the tablet itself where I elaborate a little bit more. I'm certainly hoping that this was informative and that it helps your purchasing decision. Let me know what your thoughts, comments, questions. Let me know all of that in the comment section, about this tablet or any questions you may have. I'm going to catch you there. Make sure also to share the video if you know anyone who'll be interested. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to catch you in the comment section. Like I said, I'm also going to catch you in the next video, of course. And up until that next video, of course, as always, stay safe out there.